It's time to start a new race week here at Lone Star Park. I'm Jim Byers with a preview of tonight's 50-cent late pick 4 on races 5 through 8. We are muddy to start the card and off the turf today, and obviously quite breezy here on the set as well, but a nice night for racing. We're going with a modest $13.50 ticket because we anticipate some favorites winning during the sequence. First leg is the 5th race, off the turf mile for maiden claiming fillies and mares. Top choice is the 4 Tis for Real, 12-1 on the original line when it was a turf race. We'll use her along with the 2 Cross Boss Lady and the 3 Willa Sue. Another 3 deep play for me in the 6th race, a mile for $4,000 claimers. The Carl Broberg trained entry looks solid here, especially the 1A Zanucci. Also suggesting the 7 Blue Bomber for Diodoro and the 8 Carlos 6s. 7th race, a strong allowance optional claiming group. And they are going 6 furlongs. I will single the 2 Kenai Bob, even though there are some veterans in this race that could warm him up pretty good, but trying to keep the ticket to a reasonable cost. And we wrap it up with a Texas bred allowance at 6 furlongs. Number 1, Risky Tricky, coming back quick after a win here a week ago tonight. Has a strong entry mate in Bowsen. We'll certainly use them, along with the 2 Dustum and the 3 Hewlin. As always, follow these selections and more at tvg.com, and good luck tonight. And a pleasant Thursday. Welcome to Lone Star Park at Grand Prairie. I'm Jim Byers alongside Railbird Rodney Nelson. Overcast, a little breezy, as you will see as we struggle with our notes here, but nice night for racing. 8 races coming up, Rodney. We've got a couple of scratches because we are off the turf today. Muddy to begin. Track is sealed. We'll monitor the track conditions as we go. As we begin a 4-day week of racing, it's Derby week. Always an exciting time to be around the track. We'll open early on Derby Day Saturday, 10:30 a.m. with a 1:30 Central first post on Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun week. Everybody loves Derby week, but every time I get out here to Lone Star Park and we're racing live out there, seems almost just like Derby week to me. So I'm a big fan of watching these horses run around in the oval. And tonight's going to be a good one. 8 races on the card tonight. You alluded to it. Off the turf tonight. Some weather moved through last night. It's been raining today. And I think the forecast is for rain most of the weekend. So we're going to have probably a couple more off the turf days, I would believe, this weekend. But hey, we're still going to run these races, and It's still going to be fun. There's still going to be winners and lots of money to be made.
Just have to adjust selections in a couple of races. If it does come off the turf, sometimes it opens up some opportunities for off-the-turfers that maybe didn't look too good when the race was originally carded on the grass. First race isn't off the turfer at 1 mile. There's no high five, no show wagering, no super on the first because we have scratched the 3 Herb's Love as well as the 7 and the 8. My top pick all along, though, was the 1 Dixie Mo. I mean, she looked like an absolute standout. These are fillies and mares. There's not much speed in this race. Dixie Mo figures to be forwardly placed. I mean, she was an easy pick for me, not to be chalky, but even before the race, went down to a 5-horse field.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dixie Mo looks like the one to beat here, especially now with this short field. Uncle Mo is one of my favorite sires, so every time I see one of those Uncle Mo horses in a race, I always take a second look at them. Dixie Mo, take a look. This horse ran a couple good races at Oaklawn Park this year. The one back in January was a solid second in that one, and that's pretty much what I'm basing this pick off of. I mean, the horse did good there, and if you take a look at how the horse performed at Remington Park last fall and last winter, had a pretty good record there as well. Has never tried this Lone Star Park track tonight, but we're going to see if Dixie Mo can't get it done. Off-track record does have 1 start on an off-track. That was that race 2 starts back at Oaklawn that I talked about on a muddy track.
Yeah.
We're on the mud again tonight. So I'm hoping that carries through and puts Dixie Mo across that finish line first. Second choice is going to be your number 5 horse. That is Break at Dawn. If you take a look, Break at Dawn actually beat Dixie Mo before. You got to take a look back to November of last year to find that when Break at Dawn beat Dixie Mo. Since then, I don't think Break at Dawn has run as well. But I still think this horse is definitely one to take a look at here. I think the one's head and shoulders above the rest. But Break at Dawn, I think, is one to take a look at. That last race, you can kind of count that one out. The horse was bumped a little bit. That was at the fairgrounds, but we're going to see how this horse can do tonight. Third selection, I'll go with the number 2 horse. That is North of Eden. This is the oldest horse in the race, an 8-year-old mare compared to Dixie Mo, a 4-year-old filly. I think North of Eden, you got to take a look back to last November at Remington Park to find the last time that this horse caught a race off the turf. That was on a fast dirt track, but we're going to see how this off-track does today. The horse has a very solid off-track record. Does have 4 wins on that off-track out of 13 tries. I think that North of Eden could be better than the rest here. Like I said, it's a short field. I've got it 1, 5, and 2.
And I apologize. I did not send downstairs a different pick for Badger Eye Candy, the 8 who scratched. So you see I have 186 up there. That's not correct. In fact, I'm going to bust Quinn Murphy, the 6th filly, down to my 3rd pick and go with North of Eden as my 2nd pick. But Dixie Mo, one thing I will point out about her, she had, in my eyes, a little bit more significant traffic trouble in that April 18th race than is indicated. She was in traffic, tight at the far turn, actually was briefly off stride at one point on the far turn. And if it weren't hard to see, and if she weren't a heavy favorite, I would have shown that in a video race. We will have a video race coming up later. But Dixie Mo did have what I felt was some fairly significant trouble at 17 to 10 odds in Hot Springs last time out. So she's a standout. I'll go with the 2 North of Eden. And then for sentimental reasons, I will leave Quinn Murphy in there 3rd. I mean, who knows if she can run on an off-track. Break at Dawn does have a win on an off-track. So I should probably go 1, 2, 5, but I'll go 1, 2, 6, 5 because I've historically picked Quinn Murphy a lot on the turf. but it's not on the turf. We'll see how she fares on and off track. On to the second race. Scratch the 2 Pixie. These are state-bred, Texas-bred, maiden claiming fillies going 5.5 furlongs.
Yeah, so I took the 1 in the last race. My double is going to be 1-1 here in these first 2 races. Miss MJ is going to be my top selection here in race number 2. The last 2 races for this horse, a couple seconds. They were pretty close seconds. Both of those coming in sprint races, both of them coming fairly recently, both of them back in March. I think if the horse can run to that form that she did for the last 2 races, I think that Miss MJ gets across that finish line first. Second selection, I'll go with the number 6, and that is Swift Redbird. One of the reasons I didn't take this horse on top, it seems like Swift Redbird, to me, after looking at these past performances, seems to fade as they get close to the wire. Can get up there, make the lead pretty easily, lead most of the race around, but when it comes down to that finish line, seems to fall behind and get beaten. That's why I'm taking Swift Redbird as my second selection, and then I'll take the number 4 in Texas Mama as my third choice here. 3 starts for this Danny Pish-trained horse. Lane Luzzy gets the mount tonight. All 3 of those races have been fairly solid. I mean, a couple thirds, and that most recent one was a 4th place finish, but I think that Texas Mama can get up there and hit the board here in the second race tonight.
This was a tough call for me between the 1 and the 6. One thing I might point out, races written for fillies and mares 3 and up. In fact, with the scratch of Pixie, they're all 3-year-old fillies, so that levels that playing field if you're still shy about taking 3-year-olds against older here in late April. I lean towards Swift Redbird only because this is really her first real winnable spot. I mean, she's actually taken some decent betting money in half of her starts in much tougher spots, either maiden special weights or in one case, the Texas Stallion Stakes in January at Sam Houston. She has definitely been one that has rocketed toward the front and faded. That's no doubt been her stock in trade. But I think she might hold on a little bit better with, the likes of Star of the North and fillies like that not bearing down on her. We'll see. I mean, Miss MJ comes off a really nice work on April 22nd. Sat outside a big pace battle last time. The only thing I didn't like about Miss MJ visibly watching that last race, and she did run a pretty clear second as a favorite, she was on the wrong lead. She was on her inside lead until about the last 70 yards or so. I like to see him change leads more in the upper stretch. Ideally, it usually gives him more energy coming for home. We'll see if that matters tonight. But I went 6-1-4. I thought the 1 and the 6 were kind of a toss-up there. 7/8 of a mile for race number 3. These are non-winners of 2 Texas-bred fillies and mares. No scratches out of this one.
Yeah, and I'm on the horse on the outside, the chalk in this race. That's Granny Jewel. I think this horse is going to run a big race here in this third. Danny Pish trains this horse. Danny Sorensen gets the mount. This is the first time that Granny Jewel has been in for a tag this year. I think that's going to help out. So she's dropping down in class quite a bit here. I just think that having those bigger races and then coming here and competing against some of these other ones, I think it's going to set Granny Jewel apart, and I expect for this horse to cross that finish line first. My second selection, I'm going with the number 5. That is Efflorencia. I don't know. Come on, Jim.
Efflores.
Efflores.
Yeah.
Is that French, maybe?
It means, no, it's a word means to crystallize or turn into dust. That's one of the meanings for it.
Well, not going to be throwing any dust today because it's a muddy track.
Yeah, exactly. I looked it up right before I came down.
But talking about that muddy track, this horse did break her maiden on a muddy track. That was 2 starts back. That came just in February. Won that race by a neck. That was at Sam Houston. That was at the 6 furlong distance. They're going to add another furlong on tonight. These horses that Austin Gustafson sends out always have a chance, it seems like. I mean, he was on fire last year. He's already picked up some wins this year. I think that this is a good one to take a look at. That's your number 5. And then my third selection, I'm going to go with the number 3 horse. That is Dixie Carousel. Another one of those Gustafson horses. This horse has been off since August of last year. Last time ran out here at Lone Star Park. Does have a win over our track. That was the very first time that this horse stepped foot on our track for a race. And I think that Dixie Carousel, if he can run back to how that was last year, I think this horse could finish in the mix here.
Yeah, Dixie Carousel and Efflores not only come from the same barn, their running styles seem pretty similar too. I mean, they both kind of stalk. They've both closed ground to break their maidens one time. They both had a trainer change at one point in their career. Their last races were kind of similar, but Granny Jewel, just seems to have them over a barrel. Now, she's never been on and off track. Sometimes that can be an equalizer. Sometimes they don't like it. If the track is sealed, they don't like the feeling. But, one of the fillies, she ran reasonably competitively against Happy Sailor, reeled off 3 straight wins this winter at Sam Houston, and wound up winning the barrel last. So, Granny Jewel's been keeping good company, and she's a deserved heavy favorite in there. On to the 4th. Race number 4 is for maiden claimers, fillies and mares again, $7,500 the claiming price, and they will go 1 mile.
Yeah, I'm on number 4, a little bit funny. Only one start for this horse. That came on the turf, so making a surface switch from the turf to the dirt tonight. Also taking a pretty good sharp drop in class tonight into this $7,500 maiden claiming race. A little bit funny, last time out, missed the break, missed it pretty bad. But I still think that this horse can run pretty big with an improvement from start 1 to start number 2. That's why I've got number 4, a little bit funny, as my top selection here. Next choice, I'm going to take the pair of entries. That is your number 1 in 1A. It's Urge, and it's Good to Be King. One of the reasons I picked this horse is the trainer, Ronnie Cravens. Today's his birthday, so if you see Ronnie out here, make sure to give him a happy birthday shout. But these 2 horses right here, I'm getting 2 horses for the price of 1. These horses do have some experience. If you take a look at Urge has never run this 1 mile distance before. Sometimes I like horses that are going from sprints into route races. Seems like if they can't pick up a win in those sprints, maybe something clicks in their head when they're going around 2 turns here. It's Good to Be King, also getting a little bit of class relief here, coming out of that maiden claiming race last time into this $7,500 level here. And we'll see if this horse, or both of these horses, can't get up there to hit the board. Third selection is going to be your number 3 horse, Candy Spun. I talked about the sire Uncle Mo earlier. Hard Spun is another one of my favorite sires out there. I think that Candy Spun can have a big race tonight. Last time out, ran at the 1 mile distance, ran 3rd in that race. But you know what? If you take a look at the horses that finished 1 and 2 in that race, both of them were next out winners. So something to be said for that. Was no match for those 2, but was the best of the rest. I think that Candy Spun can get up there and hit the board tonight.
Yeah, I have a feeling she's going to be a pretty heavy favorite in here. She's never raced at this bottom level before, and really the last time she did drop in to what you would call a live spot, she was a shade under 7-2 in the wagering and ran okay against a couple of next out winners who ran 2nd and 3rd. John Steinbow, the trainer, better known as a really good trainer of quarter horses. He has this thoroughbred filly right here. I'm going to be chalky, and last week I did pretty well in the picks, trying to go against what I thought were vulnerable favorites. I'm just not sure she's that vulnerable a favorite in here. The entry and a little bit funny are certainly going to get a lot of attention, and Rick Lee lined them all very close. But I'm going to lean toward Candy Spun. I like them when they drop to this bottom level for the very first time. Once they've been at the 7,500 level and proven they can't win, I'm not so hot on them when they drop back down later. I took Urge 2nd. I think she could at least be forwardly placed, exiting some sprints, and there isn't a whole lot of speed in this one. And then I took a little bit funny 3rd. That race, I watched that Fairgrounds race. That was an absolute and complete toss-out. That's just, you got to treat that just like a workout or a gallop. Basically, she was 60-1, broke outward slowly, trailed every jump. And she's going to need significant improvement, but that can happen for horses that do that at the Fairgrounds and come here. On to the 5th. This is off the turf, 1 mile on the main track. Scratch the 6, Shani Go Nanny, who was going to be the favorite. I was going to pick against her anyway, so I'll take a little extra victory dance in the booth by myself if my long shot pick, Tiz For Real, gets up and wins. I don't think Tiz For Real is going to be such a long shot now because she does show a really nice performance, a 46 Beyer Fig on a muddy track. And obviously Rick's line is based on the race being on turf.
Right. You were talking about picking Tiz For Real, a little bit of a long shot. I'm on the same horse here in this race. The reason being for that start 3 back was supposed to be on the turf, switched over to the dirt track at Sam Houston, caught a muddy track, ran solid in that one, finished 2nd, just a length behind the winner right there. I think you touched about Tiz For Real and everything you had to say. I agree with.
And I think the winner, DM Now, came back, and I believe I picked her, and she won last week as well.
See, that works then. That makes
she's not in italics on my PPs.
I don't have her in italics either.
But I'm pretty sure the PPs probably went to bed before she ran, but anyway.
But I think Tiz for real. We're not going to get 12 to 1 on this horse now, especially with both of us picking the scratch of Shandy Go Nanny. But I do think Tiz for real could be real here in this spot in race number 5. Second choice is going to be number 9. Another one that's a little bit of a shot. This was an 8 to 1 morning line. That's 'Cause I'm Divine. This horse seems to be improving in every start. I mean, if you take a look back, the very first start for this horse was back in August of last year at 10th, got 9th, 7th, 6th, 5th, and 3rd. I mean, so steadily improving her placing position. I think that 'Cause I'm Divine, if can improve a little bit more tonight, this horse is going to get up there and hit the board and probably have a pretty good price on this one as well. Third selection, I'm going to take the horse that's on the rail. Cost an arm and a leg. That's the name of this horse. Only 2 starts for this horse. The very first start was on the main track at Sam Houston Race Park. Finished second in that one, 2 3/4 behind Repo Girl, who was the winner of that one. I think Repo Girl, we actually saw her run this past weekend out here as well. Couldn't tell you how she did. Don't remember, but I remember the name.
Yeah, I do remember the name.
It was one of my picks, I think, so probably didn't run well at all that day. But the most recent start was 5 furlongs on the turf. So we're going to go ahead and count that one out since we're on the dirt tonight. Has never gone a mile before, so we're going to see if Cost the Arm and a Leg likes the distance change from the sprint to the route. That's going to be my third selection here in race number 5.
Yeah, I mean, Tiz for real with the bullet work on April 20th and the good race on the off track. I mean, she now profiles as a solid choice, at least a solid option in here. I went with Cross Boss Lady on the stretch out, coming out of maiden special weights as a second pick. You know, ages ago when I got into sport, one thing that they used to look at was sprinters that just kind of go evenly and never make much of an impression, either forwardly placed or rallying. Might like the stretch out if they're just even sort of plodding sprinters, and that's certainly her methodology. And then I went with Willa Sue, the Asmussen, as the third pick. I mean, she definitely needed that drop out of that maiden special that she contested here last summer. She tried maiden claimers at Sam Houston. Looks like she kind of chucked it in there, but if she could get better with a stretch out, and Asmussen has a way of, getting them to perform better, when they do something a little different than they have been doing. On to the 6th, 1 mile, $4,000 claimers. Couple of scratches here. The plain one, Tiz Showbiz, who just ran on Sunday, and the 5 Towering Oak.
Yeah, I've got the 8 Carlos Sixes as my top choice here, coming from the outside. This horse was a winner last time out. That came at this 1 mile distance. Beat a next out winner in that race as well. This is the second start after a layoff for Carlos Sixes. I love that angle. A lot of people like this horse too. I mean, if you look, this horse has been the favorite 6 times in a row. We'll see if he picks up the tag for the favorite tonight. Could be. I think this is a solid horse. I think this is going to be a tough one to beat here in race number 6. Second choice, I'm going with the 1A in Zanussi. If you take a look, one of the big reasons that I'm taking this horse right here is that off-track record. 10 starts on the off-track, has a couple wins, a couple seconds, and 4 third-place finishes. So 8 out of 10 in the money on an off-track. Take a look, 3 starts back. This horse ran on a muddy track at Sam Houston, won that race. That was at the $7,500 claiming levels. In for the $4,000 tag tonight. Won that race by 2 1/4. I think Zanussi can have a good run here in the 6th. And then I'll take the number 6 as my third selection. That is Front Page. You always got to take a look at the horses trained by Steve Asmussen, ridden by Stuart Elliott. They team up for a lot of wins out here at Lone Star Park. The last win that this horse has, you got to look back 3 starts back. That came in March at Delta Downs. That was in a 7.5 furlong race. Won that race by half a length. And if I'm not mistaken, I think 7.5 furlongs at Delta Downs is 2 turns, right?
Oh, yeah. So 6.5, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's that short little bull ring track. But I think Front Page has that experience of going around 2 turns. Most recently was at Oaklawn Park in a 1 mile race. Didn't perform too hot there, but I think getting back here to Lone Star Park at this $4,000 level, I think is going to do Front Page well, and I expect that this horse finishes in the top 3.
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of wondering why he didn't end up in my selections either. But nonetheless, I'm on Carlos Six's bandwagon. I mean, he's had some time off, but Pish is very good at getting them ready off the layoffs. You mentioned he's been favored. I noted that he had been favored in 6 straight as well. He's also been favored in 10 of his last 11. And the one time he wasn't favored, he was a shade under 3 to 1. But, this is just a horse that just gives it his all. I mean, in the money 18 out of 28 times. He's just a terrific horse. If he's ready to go today, which you would think he would be, he's going to be difficult. And he's done well on off tracks when he's had the infrequent opportunity to get on it. My second pick, might be a little bit of a price. The 7 Blue Bomber, I mean, he's done most of his work on the turf course, 41 career turf starts, only 20 off the turf. Has a win in a second in his lengthy career on off-going. I have a feeling Blue Bomber might be a forward factor and could be someone to consider. And then I have the remaining entry mate as a third pick. And Queeton, who was Rick Lee's original top pick when it was this wasn't an off the turf. I'm sorry. Rick Lee's original, or his actual top pick, is Queeton, who is another speed demon. I couldn't quite get him higher than fourth on my picks. Now we got video to watch here on the 7th. There's no show, no super wagering on the 7th race. Scratch the 6 Stone Cafe. We're going to watch Kenai Bob, who is number 4 in the Yellow Silks in this video from Sam Houston. He's going to face the outstanding Texas bred Direct Dial. Direct Dial's the big white horse. The one outside of him is Kenai Bob. Look how far back it is to everybody else. This was in the Star of Texas. Kenai Bob gave Direct Dial everything he could handle. He was within ahead of him in the upper stretch. See, Direct Dial takes over, but I like the way Kenai Bob dug in. He didn't just chuck it in and say, forget it, I'm not going to beat Direct Dial, who's earned almost $500,000. I thought he hung in there pretty well. He's my top pick. His Buyer Figs tower over the rest. He's not really much of a sprinter. That's the only thing that concerns me a little. It's the 6.5 furlong race, but he did break his maiden way back when, sprinting at Canterbury. And Francisco Bravo was his trainer in those days. I'm on Kenai Bob's bandwagon.
Yeah, I'm on Kenai Bob as well, but the not really running very well in sprints is the one thing that's got me. 0 for 4 at this 6.5 furlong distance, but does have 3 seconds to show for those 4 starts and a third to round it out. So 100% in the money at 6.5 furlongs. You talked about Direct Dial, that race, the horse that beat him down at Sam Houston, the Stars of Texas State, 2018 Texas Horse of the Year. Yeah. This horse has run into a bunch of solid Texas-bred horses. Sunlit Song was another one that we've seen that name come in.
Redatory.
Yeah. Mujab Jr., another one. I mean, this horse has some pedigree from running in stakes races. If you take a look back to last year out here at Lone Star Park back in June, the Stars of Texas State, this horse won that race by 10.5 lengths. Yeah. That was a huge margin of victory. That was his lone win out here at Lone Star Park. Tried a couple races since then. Had a decent second place finish on the turf in the Texas Hall of Fame Stakes. But taking a look at Kenai Bob, a lot of good things to say about this horse. Had a bullet workout on the 23rd of April, so just the other day, this horse was working quick, 1 of 9 on the morning. I think that Kenai Bob is definitely one to take a look at here. I've got the 4 Gunners.
Celestic Man.
Celestic Man. I'm glad you call these horses instead of me. Number 4, that's going to be my second choice. Has a good record out here at Lone Star Park. 5 starts, has 2 wins and a second to show for it. Most recently, this horse won the Spirit of Texas Stakes. That was a $100,000 race at Sam Houston Race Park. Finished second in the H-Town Stakes before that. So this horse is definitely up there with some of the big boys in Texas racing. This horse finished second to Direct Dial as well, 2 starts back. This horse has had a good 2021. All 4 of those starts coming at Sam Houston Race Park. Never finishing worse than 3rd in those races. I think that Gunner's Selectic Man is one to take a look at. And then the number 5 in Gold Pilot, I think, is a very interesting horse here. 7-2 morning line on Gold Pilot. It seems like this horse is one of those closers. I think that this horse does best when there's some speed in the race, some early speed, and has some speed to chase down toward the end. I think there is some speed in this horse. I think you're going to see Kenai Bob toward the front. Gunner Celestic Man's going to be right up there as well. And I think that's going to give Gold Pilot something to run at. And I think this horse is going to be moving late. So go ahead and take a look at Gold Pilot. If you don't like the odds on Kenai Bob, Gunner Selectic Man, looking for a little bit of value, I think the 5 might be a decent play here in the 7th race.
Yeah, I mean, Gold Pilot to me has always been a little bit of a mystery. I mean, once in a while he looks like Silky Sullivan and just unleashes this powerful rally, and then, he can be a little bit of a disappointment at times too. But I mean, you're not going to win every race, and he's won a couple out of 9 while keeping regular Texas-bred stakes company. So a nice horse. I'd love to own him. We'll leave that to Wayne Sanders and Larry Hirsch. But nonetheless, he's a solid second pick for me. The reason that I didn't move Gunner up a little higher is, I mean, he just ran his eyeballs out a month ago and ran a career best race. I don't know if he can top that, but he might. I mean, he's going really good right now. One horse that was in that race with Direct Dial and Kenai Bob was Algebra, who came back here last week. He was in the Beaten Company. He came back and won here last week, so that could be a very key race. Direct Dial, by the way, I know you're a fan of Too Much Bling. Direct Dial is the second highest all-time earner sired by Too Much Bling.
Who's number one? Do you know? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
It's a horse that's
here.
before my time. I don't remember his name. Do you know it?
I do not know.
Yeah, it's this isn't like me blanking on Super Mason that I watched like 12 times. This is a horse that was a little before I got back in the sport. Oh, we could definitely find out. I'll have it tomorrow. But, yeah, it's a really nice horse, but I don't remember the name. It's like 2012-13 vintage. On to the last. Getting a little short on time here, so we'll get to our scratch, number 9, Mac Be Quick. State bred allowance, 6 furlongs. I think the entry is going to be tough in here.
Yeah, I think the entry is going to be tough as well. I've got them on top. That's Risky, Tricky, and Bazoon as my top 2 selections. I mean, the one, Risky, Tricky, this is probably the one I like the best out of it. I mean, this horse last time out had the first start for Carl Broberg, won that race by 5 3/4 lengths. I think a repeat move, this horse gets up there across the finish line first. I mean, you also got the 1A in this one as well. Take a look back when back at Churchill Downs earlier this year, this horse caught a sloppy track, finished first in that one by 5. 2 starts back at Sam Houston had a muddy track, a respectable 3rd in that one as well. If you take a look at how this horse has done at the 6 furlong distance, has won 3 of 6 starts, has a couple 3rds in there as well, so 5 out of 6 in the money with those 3 wins. And also on the off track, I mean, this horse has been solid too. 4 starts on the off track, 3 wins and a 3rd, so 100% in the money when there's been an off track. So I think it's definitely something to look at on the 1 and the 1A here. Second selection is going to be the number 6 in Congo Boy. This is a horse that's only had 1 start. Always like those horses going from their first start to their second. Look for an improvement. If anything happens and this horse is able to improve from that last start, this horse is going to win this race by daylight. I mean, won the last one by 7.5. I think if this horse gets any better, I think Congo Boy is definitely going to be one to watch in the future. And then my third selection is going to be the number 2 in Dustum. This is a horse that spent the last 3 times running in stakes races at Sam Houston Race Park. Best finish in those 3 races was a second in the Jim's Orbit that came back toward the end of February. I think that Dustum can run with the big boys. I mean, if you look, this horse ran a pretty good allowance race at Remington Park last year. Broke his maiden right out here at Lone Star Park. This horse likes to sprint. I think there's a lot to like about Dustum. Couldn't put him on top, but I think Dustum you got to put in those exotic wagers tonight.
Yeah, he was my 3rd pick. You know, I actually think Bowsen, the 1A, is, to my eye, hits me better than Risky Tricky, even though Risky Tricky had a really nice win. It was only a week ago. But we'll see. It doesn't really matter. They're 1 and 1A, and Raylu Gutierrez is going to ride the plain 1, so that's a good thing. I mean, Bowsen, his prayers were definitely answered, praying for rain with his off-track record. My second pick is Hewlin, who will go down in history as a horse that I picked in probably my worst pick of the 2020 thoroughbred meet over Superstock, who's going to run in a little race called the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. I didn't like Superstock. I thought Asmussen's bringing in this Hewlin, who just ran in the Bashford Manor. Well, you know, I found out Superstock blew the field away and I think was favored in the race, and Hewlin hasn't won a race since. He's just had kind of a blah year, although his last race was pretty good on the turf. I don't know. And we'll see. But I used him second because I don't want to leave him out and have him beat me, and then I'll be frustrated. So there you go. Those are our selections for tonight. Once again, we're off turf today. We'll keep you posted should the track condition change throughout the course of the night. Rodney, we'll see you again a week from tonight.
That's right.
Don't forget, we've got back to the daytime post tomorrow of 2:35 Central. Saturday we start early because of the Derby festivities. 11 race card Saturday, 1:35. The Central Time start on Saturday. You can watch and wager, of course, on the Derby and all the Churchill races here that day. And then Sunday, 10 race card coming up Sunday at the regular 2:35. So
that's right. It's going to be a fun one. Just one reminder for everyone that's out here on track tonight, and that's going to come out tomorrow. We will have advanced wagering on the Derby. I believe the Oaks too. I think you can make wagers tonight for the Kentucky Oaks. So if you want to do that, talk to one of our friendly mutual tellers, and they'll tell you how to put that money down on those big races.
All right. We thank Rodney for joining us as always, and good luck tonight.